It's the last leg of Tuesday's Daily Rundown and time to look at some of the more quirky stories making the news. I've not read these either, so who knows what we could chat about in the next 6 minutes. First of all, a musician who was moving into his new London Docklands apartment had to hire a crane to get prized piano into the property because they wouldn't go up the stairs. Now, Ashleigh, you're a musician. Would you ever go to such extreme lengths to save a beloved instrument?
Okay, yes, but I don't think I'd be living in London in the first place, so it would be less disruptive.
You'd have to sell the instrument to be able to live there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you've got an ancient, amazing grand piano that has to be craned into an apartment building, it's probably worth, no small amount of money. So I definitely understand, and the impulse for sort of wanting to keep hold of it and whatever. But at the same time, there is a limit, because presumably by hiring a crane, where did the crane park? How many other people have been sort of inconvenienced or delayed or whatever because this guy couldn't live without that particular piano? It's like...
I suppose now technology has come on so far, we do so much with machines that are so tiny now. It does seem extravagant.
Well, no, it's not. Because having an actual piano, there isn't anything like that. But if I was a person who played a piano, I'm not sure I'd want to be living in an apartment building in the middle of London anyway. But again, that's just me, personal preference. Like with the films and whatever. But it's like... you go and live somewhere in the suburbs, so if you need to take the piano out for a gig, for example, it's on the ground floor, so... Or
you could just take up the recorder.
Yeah, the way that I'm imagining it is like the end of a Chuckle Brothers episode. They're going, oh, that didn't work out, did it, Barry? No, it didn't, pal. To me, to you, to me, to you. And then the PG chimps just going, well, we're no use here either.
I was thinking of an old Laurel and Hardy movie called The Music Box, which you will not know, but you should check that out.
Well, okay.
Aged us both now.
Yeah, totally.
Right, next is Prince Harry. He's had a visit to Nepal, and it began with a ceremony signifying luck and purity. A welcome from 5 virgins. The young women greeted their special guest with gifts of flowers and placed a garland around his neck. He accepted their gifts with a smile before heading off for a tour of the area which had been devastated by the recent earthquake. Prince Harry and 5 virgins. Well, I mean, there's got to be some jokes there.
Who's going? We've got Prince. The earthquake's happened. We've got Prince Harry. Get us some virgins. Get us some virgins. Is there any virgin? Right, there's one. Get it right. Right, stay there. Right, we need a wreath. We need a wreath, not a funeral wreath. We need one for his head. Okay, right. There's by chance a second virgin. Are you a virgin? Over there.
Harry, don't touch the virgins. You can just,
Look, but don't touch.
We've had an earthquake. We only have 5 of these.
So the thing is...
There must be some significance, though, to give their precious... I can't think how to word this, but there must be some significance about being a virgin being given to Harry.
Okay, I mean...
Sort of.
It's just... Okay, let me just skip over that one for a second and focus on... Prince Harry, if I recall correctly, is in the army. So as far as an aid relief effort goes for somewhere that's been devastated by an earthquake, sending one guy with a fancy surname is pretty pathetic. Surely they'd have said, okay, if you're sending Prince Harry, send him and a load of his comrades and they can actually, help out with the cleanup instead of insisting they do a ceremony with 5 virgins and garlands just after a friggin' earthquake.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's the time to be standing on ceremony.
Do you think, though, just the fact that he's there draws more attention back to the country and therefore might remind people of what actually happened?
That's true.
There's so many things happening now, we just lose track's a bit of an unfortunate way of saying it, but we're now talking about Belgium. We've forgotten about the last crisis and the crisis before that. So in a way, some people argue that's what the job is, to highlight things again.
They call it compassion fatigue, don't they?
Totally.
There are so many terrible things that you hear about, and there are appeals for so many good causes for earthquake relief and whatever.
I was drained after sport relief on Friday.
Right,
it's just one appeal after another. It's a lot to put on the public, isn't it? Yeah.
And so hence the fatigue, I suppose. So you're absolutely right. It does draw attention to it, but I mean, I don't know. I'm not a royalist anyway.
No,
really.
I didn't get the impression you were.
Really?
But are you pro-pregnant mothers?
I mean, again, that does link back to, the species does need to survive.
I'll tell you where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
a woman who was 9 months pregnant was fined for parking in a mother and baby space because she doesn't qualify as a parent yet. Do we feel that it's right that she was fined? She's not given birth, but the baby's still, knocking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she had puffy ankles. I'm sure that she was just as tired. Well, maybe not quite, but up there as if she'd had the baby.
Was the fine just pettiness?
Yes. I would say, because it sounds like, I don't know where this has taken place, but this sounds like some, Captain Jobsworth, well, you don't have a child yet, madam. And it's like, I would say, having never been pregnant, and it's extremely unlikely that I ever will be, if we're honest, it kind of annoys me because it's just some chippy little autodidact has decided to say, oh, we'll give you a fine. But I can imagine walking around as a pregnant woman, 9 months pregnant, is actually quite a lot of effort. Perhaps weight to carry around. You don't want to be walking too far. So for a guy to say, oh, well, no, mother and child, you don't have the child yet. And it's like, yeah, but I still need to park quite close to the thing. In fact, it's now really important that I do that even more so than when the child is able to walk around for themselves.
In a way, it's almost sort of like saying that heavily pregnant is a form of disability to some extent. There's a fine line there, isn't there? About...
Well, I mean, it's just, in terms of parking spaces, though, you have the sort of disabled spaces and you have the mother and child spaces, which are usually sort of next to those, aren't they? So those are the spaces that presumably she's been fined for using, and frankly, if I was in her position, I would be like, well, yes, I will park here because, as near as damn it, and I'm carrying a load of extra weight around. It looks like I've swallowed a planet or something.
I wonder what happened to the Jobsworth that incited all this. I wonder if he's still... I'm assuming it's a man. It'd be even more of a horror story if it was a woman. But I wonder if he's still knocking around, if he's still got his job.
I think he's in bed right now.
Right.
I think that's where he is.
Okay, planning to sort of put fines on buggies next? Or...
No, just, those kind of people struggle to sleep at night, so they have to kind of put the hours away.
Got to really put it in.
Good point. Okay, now they say that crime does not pay, but new research suggests that mobsters who stay in school earn more from their business dealings. It suggests that even someone at the bottom of the rank who completes an extra year in education can see his earnings rise. The ability to process numbers and think logically are beneficial in illegal activities such as racketeering, extortion, and others, according to the study by Essex University and the University of California. Now, not that we're encouraging crime, but are we encouraging education with this story?
I think that if we play our cards right, we've got a whole load of gangsters who are going to plan their crimes via spreadsheet, which is only a good thing.
Fair enough.
Particularly if the FBI can then get in and look at all the spreadsheets, and then they'll be like, oh, well, let's just bang these guys up, I suppose. I mean, speaking as an international master criminal, I very much prefer to hire...
We're seeing so many sides to you tonight, Ashleigh.
I know, right? But I very much prefer to hire people who've got their eye on the ball, kind of thing. No, you do see that. I mean, it makes sense, though, doesn't it? A certain amount of numeracy and kind of logical, and certainly, I guess, problem solving for certain creative problems that might crop up during any kind of illegal enterprise that have to be found, dealt with in an immediate and perhaps quite permanent sort of a way. That sort of level of problem solving, perhaps, you can certainly see how the education is going to help.
You're starting to get a little scared now, aren't you?
No, I'm just thinking...
You're sitting next to a master criminal.
I'm just thinking of a mobster who's going, right, Louis, we need a head vice. I need for you to shop round, get us the best deal.
Yeah.
Compare, contrast.
Try eBay, see if we can get...
No, we don't.
Don't just buy the first one you see, okay? I know we've got a huge warehouse full of drug money, but it's not limitless, so...
You don't spend your own supply. That's how that phrase goes.
Yeah. You look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves. And then the underling just goes, how on earth did you become the Don?
and then he gets out his diploma and goes...
See, the University of Essex in California say this was a great idea.
What a defence. Right, our last story now. A charity bookshop is begging women to stop handing in second-hand copies of the steamy novel 50 Shades of Grey. Women who bought the erotic thriller are dumping them in thrift stores because they don't want to keep them in their own home once they've read it.
Really?
I suppose they want to tarnish their knickknacks. Is this a surprise to you that now finally that zeitgeist has kind of moved?
No, it's an awful book.
Everyone said it was a terrible piece of literature.
It really is so terrible, to the degree that I saw it, just going out and having a drink in a bar or whatever, and someone had left a copy of 50 Shades of Grey in toilet cubicle with a little note on the front saying emergency toilet paper. People's disdain for this book, knew no bounds. So it doesn't surprise me particularly, but it's like, who goes to a charity shop for erotic fiction? So I'm more worried. So the people that are dropping off the book at the charity shop are thinking, oh yes, well, I'm sure there's going to be loads of people who'd want a copy of this from a charity shop.
Well, I don't know. I used to help out at a charity shop, and back then, the big book of the time always would come flooding in about 6 months later, and it was the Da Vinci Code when I worked there. There were so many copies of the Da Vinci Code came in. I guess this is the new version, 50 Shades of Grey. I mean, you could see people, going around a thrift shop and think, "Oh, have a go with that for 50p," couldn't you?
I mean, I've never read it. I've never seen the film. I'm aware of its origins as a Twilight fan fiction. I believe that's correct.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And I mean, and I never read Twilight, so if I might as well go to the source material before I go to the erotic fan fiction of said material.
Baby steps.
It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier about kind of being interested in sex and having the technology. It's like I've got far better things.
There is much. If you're gonna do some, if you're interested in erotic fiction, it's sort of BDSM related erotic fiction, there is much, much better smut online than, or indeed in your own head, usually, than you would find in 50 Shades of Grey. And usually the stuff in your imagination is spelt much more effectively. So, as you say, it is just a zeitgeisty thing with all those copies of the Da Vinci Code and whatever else. But it's just, I've been kind of waiting for this for ages because 50 Shades just rubbish. So it's kind of like,
This was the gardening offshoot, which was 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's that joke, it's not mine, which is the EL in EL James stands for early learning.
Ooh.
It is apparently notoriously poorly written.
Yes, no, it is. But
she didn't go to the University of Essex, did she?
I don't know. I've no idea. Does she even have an alma mater?
I don't know. Well, I haven't read
that
the
even
book.
how
Who
you say
knows?
that?
I don't know. That she probably has some double entendre for what that means, but it's actually time to go.
Oh,
I know. We've had a really nice evening.
Yeah,
Thank you to Elevant for the music. Thank you to Ashleigh and Tom. Fiona's here tomorrow, so for some more daily rundown, so please join her then, and I'll see you again in another day or two's time. Night night.